All right, Steve, thanks for being here. We got Steve Kohnke with Denver Business Coach.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us your elevator pitch for what you guys do and what sets you apart?
Sure. So Denver Business Coach, I own it with partner Simon. We have a team of about 8 or 9 advisors working with small businesses between 1 and 20 million to help them build a valuable company is our overall message. So that's owner independency, that's systems, processes, people, strategy, really helping them build their business from the inside out in a way that is attractive for potential acquirers, whether it's 2 years down the road or 20.
Okay.
Really helping them build that asset for themselves.
I don't think a lot of people think about their business like that.
No,
Do they?
no. We bring the conversation to a lot of people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I should think about my business more that way," or "What is my exit strategy?" And the ones that we get that say, "Oh, it's too far away." We always it's a little bit more education that we have to bring in.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, right.
But also, let's go ahead and start planning for that. Like, you know, your retirement is a long way away, but you're already saving for it.
Right, exactly. You started now. Why not start building your business for that same thing? So
exactly, yeah. Like, why not plan for it? You know,
yeah.
There's little things you can do today, probably, I imagine, which we'll get into.
Sure.
But I want to talk. I have a lot of questions because I love business. Obviously, that's why I started this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, this podcast is to highlight business owners, entrepreneurs in Colorado, let them tell their story and talk about their business. You can coach me up. Maybe I can be a case study for you. But let's talk about you a little bit. You grew up in Chicago, right?
Yep.
What was life
Chicago.
like in Chicago? Where at? What suburb?
So a suburb called Glen Ellen, real small.
Okay, I don't know that one.
Most people know Wheaton because of Wheaton College right next door to that.
Okay.
So it was great, small town, living in the Midwest, a lot of sports.
Yeah. Hockey?
Hockey.
Hockey's big up there.
I didn't play hockey, but watched it for sure. I was more of a football, baseball, basketball kind of a guy.
Okay.
But Bulls, Bears.
Yeah.
Cubs.
Bulls. How old are you?
35.
Okay, so you're probably a little too young for those like Bulls runs.
Oh, I got him.
You were young though.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I remember the second three-peat. I remember that one really well.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit older than you, but
Michael Jordan was a big aspiration for me.
I'm sure.
To be just like him, yeah.
Yeah, be like Mike, man. Yeah. I like to say, we don't have to go off on a tangent on this, but LeBron is the best basketball player ever.
No, I don't think so.
Hear me out. But Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player ever.
Okay. There you go. For sure.
So that's my take on it anyways. There's a slight distinction.
I like it.
Yeah. I always joke with my wife, Jordan's my GOAT.
Yeah.
So
good.
Chicago legend. So you grew up in Chicago. Walk me through how you ended up in Colorado.
Yeah, so I had a friend from high school that came out here and really visited him over ski season once and just said,
all right, I think I'll do this.
I think I'll come here now. So I went to CU Boulder, and that's what brought me out here.
Okay, cool. And then what'd you major in at CU?
So I did psychology and neuroscience.
Okay.
So really studied.
What did you think you wanted to do?
Don't know.
All right, I got a psychology degree too.
There you go.
Bachelor's in psychology that I've never once used.
Yeah.
That's one of those. You take a psychology class your freshman year, and I was like, "This is cool. I like learning about this. I'll just keep doing this.
This is fun." Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to my like early into my junior year, I was like, what can I do with this? And they were like, you just got to keep going to school. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that.
I don't want to do that.
I don't. That sounds miserable. So
I would say it's
pass.
Business psychology is kind of how I reframe it.
Okay,
I guess.
I like that.
It's like the motivation and managing people,
understanding motivation,
do that whole thing, but
I
behavioral.
So graduate college, then what happened?
Yeah, so I worked in restaurants all through college. I had a small house painting company through college as well. So that helped pay for that. And then afterwards, I started working for a change management company called ProSci out of Fort Collins. And they're now the world leader in change. Change, yeah. So
like
how to do change.
Okay. All right. I didn't know that was a business, but.
Oh, yeah. When I was working with them, they're mainly training. training, advisory, and research. They're first and foremost a research company.
Okay.
So they pulled.
They're collecting data.
They're collecting
analyzing
data,
it, yeah.
understanding how businesses go through change, and not only businesses but individuals within those companies go through change.
Cool. Okay.
So they developed this whole methodology, this whole process, and that's where I went and helped them deliver these training courses and advisory courses on how these big Fortune 500 companies can do change well.
Okay.
So it's a whole, if you're familiar with project management, that's on time, on budget.
Yeah.
Right. Change management is speed of adoption, utilization, and proficiency in whatever that project is.
Okay.
So you got to get the people to do the project
Yeah.
and be in the current to future state. So we use some of that terminology in what we do now.
All right, you're talking a little over my head.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We'll get there. Maybe you can catch me up.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, so then how do you say you have a partner. His name's Simon, right?
Yes. Yeah.
How did you and Simon meet, and how did you decide to start Denver Business Coaching?
Yeah, so he's the founder of Denver Business
Okay.
Coach, and we became equity partners back in 2017, I believe.
Okay.
But I was looking for help for myself, starting my own company and going off, and that's basically how Simon and I met.
Okay.
And we started working together for a little bit and just say, hey, let's do this together. Let's grow this together.
You guys must have got along really well.
Yeah, right from the start, I
Cool.
think. Yeah, it was good.
Nice.
But yeah, so that was back in 2016, I believe,
Okay.
was when
What
we
business were you trying to start back then? Did you have an idea or?
Restaurant consulting.
Okay.
In change.
Nice.
Lo and behold. But
Okay.
so that's what I was trying to go with, and that was my original idea, but it's obviously evolved and changed since then.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a business consulting now.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And you said that you guys have a team now, right? So there's like 8-9 of you guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
So they're
Are
advisors.
they full time? Or are they like? How does that work?
Most of them are part time.
Okay.
So they're from all over the country. Most
Okay,
of them
so they're
are
not local.
Yeah, most of them are in Colorado, but we have some in Oklahoma, Michigan, Arizona.
And there seem to be like a pretty diverse group.
Yeah, very. So
What
they're all-
industries are they coming from?
Anywhere from like agencies, from like gyms and athletics,
Oh, cool.
to company benefits programs or restaurants. They all have different
Oh my God.
backgrounds
So
and
very
different
diverse.
industries. Yeah, construction is another big one.
Okay.
So part of the qualifier for an advisor to come onto the team is they have to start, grown, and sold their own company.
Okay.
So we walk the walk in that way,
Yeah.
if you will. I think that's an important thing to do especially for the advice and the guidance that we're giving small business owners in how to grow their company towards that exit. That we have also done the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
We've been here. We've done this. Yeah. This isn't just like a theoretical thing that we talk about.
Right.
Like we actually have done this.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an important factor.
Okay. Cool. And so do you feel like that's kind of what sets you guys apart, is that you have such like diversity? You have a team, and then you have like all these different diverse backgrounds, a lot of different people.
Yeah, I think that is a really big part that separates us from other. I know groups have an eclectic leadership team that will work with business owners. In the way that we work together is one advisor will be working with a business owner. But we all meet as a team to discuss what's going on with that business. So we're all very well in tuned.
So then you're presenting your business to your team, and then they're giving you feedback and tips. And okay, nice. That's cool. I bet that's really helpful, that collaboration.
Yeah. So it's kind of that, part of the benefit of bringing us on the team is you're removed from the day to day in it, and you kind of have this ability to see the business from a higher view.
Dude, that's my hardest thing.
Yeah.
As I always say, like it's hard for me to like see the forest through the trees, right?
Yeah.
It's like I can't, like we do video production, and so people come to us, and it's essentially marketing, right? And so they're coming to us with their problems, and hey, we think we need video and photo content to solve those problems.
Sure.
And I can almost immediately just like read their website, talk to them, have a discovery call, and understand the direction we need to go to solve that problem.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, here's what you should do, X, Y, Z. Here's what we're going to do. Then we're going to do A, B, C, and 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And we're going to execute on this, and you're going to get success. Like you're going to reach your goals. With my own business, I'm so indecisive, and I have such a hard time knowing and deciding. I'm too invested personally, right? And I don't want to let go of little things, and it's hard to see the clear path of where we need to go.
Yeah.
So it's good to have those outside. I think entrepreneurs, we can see other people and give them feedback and guidance and stuff. But when it comes to your own business, it's really hard.
It's tough.
Why is that? What's the psychology behind that?
It's funny. Like I have a couple like marketing agencies that I work with as clients, and that's the hardest thing for them to do for themselves.
Isn't it weird?
Is drive leads or like do marketing for themselves in the way that they can do it for their clients. And I think part of it, at least from what I've seen as an observer in that way, is they prioritize the client, obviously.
That is so true too.
So they want to do it first.
It comes down
to
to it. I want to finish my client's project before I work on my own stuff.
Exactly. And there's always going to be a client project, right?
Yeah. So you just have to carve out time, like make time and protect that time to work on your stuff. To do your own thing. It's hard.
It gets easier as you get more people.
Sure.
Because then you can focus, and that's what we say, the people and process aspect of it. When you get more people on your team, that business owner can be focused more on the important but not urgent tasks. So we call it the architecture, but actually building out the business, working on the business versus in, which I'm sure you've heard in the past. But so that's kind of what we're focused on.
Yeah, I have seasons. I kind of operate in seasons, right? When the business is slow, in the winter it slows down a little bit, and I can work on my business instead of in my business,
Right.
But I'm always, up here, I'm always working on my business, but actually putting pen to paper and doing things. Sometimes I have to carve out time.
And doing the actions too, right?
Yeah.
And actually carrying it out.
Actually doing it, yes. So tell me about your, you said that 3/4 of businesses that don't ever sell. Is that 3/4 of businesses that are trying to sell but just don't because for whatever reason?
So that is talking about businesses that go to the open market.
Yeah.
So if you're familiar with websites like Biz by Sell,
I've seen some
brokers.
I know a guy who helps. He's a broker and sells businesses.
So like the ones that are using brokers or M&A people, like they're going out to the market and saying, "Hey, who wants to buy this business?" Similar to listing your house for sale. Who wants to buy this house? 3 out of 4 of those do not sell.
Oh wow!
They'll be on the market for years. And for whatever reason, a lot of it has to do with dependency of just
on the owner
themselves in a lot of cases. So there's a lot of risk.
Yeah,
right. There's a lot of, it's the reason why it's so high is I think a lot of the baby boomer generation, they're trying to get out and retire and all that. And they've worked their job for
that's kind of sad, man.
20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And they've made a great living off of that and say, all right, it's time to retire and sell this. And
they don't want to pass it to their kids.
Or kids don't want it.
Kids don't want it. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
or they need to sell it maybe because a lot of their a lot of their time and energy investment is tied up and their wealth is tied up into their business. And that's really sad. And then just sits on the market and just what ends up happening, it just fades into existence when they retire.
They'll sell it for parts. In a lot of cases. So
man.
That's the other thing. If it does sell, a lot of the time it's not at a number where the owner it's going to make a big difference, right? So I think the stat that I read actually earlier today was 5% are actually satisfied with the number that they get when
5%
when they do sell. Yeah.
Okay. So investing in your business is not a good investment, is what you're saying.
Well, if you're treating it like a job, right? And,
and
and I've met with plenty of business owners who are happy with doing that, and they don't. I mean, it's a lot of work to grow your business to be a true asset that has a lot of value that you can sell for 5-6 times what you make. And
you have to take like multiple risks along the way.
A lot of risk. It's people.
When you hand things off, you're taking a risk that you're hiring the right person and they're not going to drop the ball. They're going to take it and run with it and improve on what you were doing, right? And it's not going to take a big step back because you handed something off. Obviously it will initially, but the goal is like, hey, I'm going to hand this piece off to you. You're going to take it and run with it and be better than I was at it. And slowly you're handing off. I'm speaking to your job, but you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you got
it. You're handing off different pieces of your business until you are essentially no longer needed, maybe just as an advisor role or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. We allow, or what we talk to business owners about is options. Building your business from day one to be a sellable asset allows you options if and when the time comes. A lot of owners don't realize this, but you can be forced out of the business for a lot of unforeseen reasons. Like you may say, hey, I'm going to work in this for 20, 30 years. I don't need to think about exit yet. But,
Yeah.
you know, if someone, you know, gets sick or, you know, there's a
Mm.
lot of those types of things that are external that aren't a part of the plan
Yeah.
that can happen that will force owners out too. So we always say we want it to be ready
Yeah.
at really any point. And
Mm.
that's why we always encourage business owners to be thinking about that.
Yeah. I'm 10 years into my business
Mhm.
now, about maybe technically 12.
Mhm.
I've been doing video full time for about 9 now. It was a side hustle for a couple years. And then I started off doing wedding videos and then and then switched to doing that full time in like 2015, 16. And then started Future Fox, which is like the commercial corporate side of our business. In 2016, basically, is when I started this, just out of need, out of necessity, because I was shooting things other than weddings, and I didn't want to put them on our wedding website, right?
Sure.
And then the goal was like, all right, in a couple years, I want it to be 50-50 revenue-wise. And then now it's more like probably 80-20% revenue. I'd like to get back to a little more balance.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not, I don't want our Future Fox revenue to be less. I just want the wedding revenue to be a little bit more.
Sure.
But I have started to. I'm in that phase of my career where I'm thinking about, okay, well, how do I exit?
Yeah.
Not to sell it,
Mhm.
but maybe just to go do something else. I got the entrepreneur itch.
Right.
I want to go do something else. This is taking up all of my time. How do I replace myself?
Mhm.
So how would you coach me can you give me some advice on, like, if, you know, I'm in a place now where I'm looking to hire the next person to pass off some of my responsibilities, but really, like, as the owner operator, I do like 3 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just do them really efficiently.
Yeah.
And I need to replace myself. And like, what are the steps? What should I be looking for? What should I be thinking about?
Yeah. One of the exercises, I'm doing this with a lot of clients just because of next year planning, is org chart.
Okay.
Building out where your org chart is now
That's good.
versus where it could be, what the future state org chart looks like, and then actually building out roles and responsibilities for every one of those boxes.
Org chart.
And it's a simple exercise to do and simple thought process, but it really helps clarify, oh, this is what I could do. And then you have the conversation
And
of
you see where's the biggest need?
Right.
How do I move that in which
who's
order?
next? Right.
Who's next?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah, that's
next
good.
up? And you can see what's always kind of scary for a lot of business owners that are wearing multiple hats. And then I kind of list it out and really map it out. What are all the different departments? They're like, I'm wearing how many hats?
Yeah.
16 different. Yeah. So they're like, oh my gosh, we got to do something about this.
Right. Yeah.
It can
And
be,
they're not all full-time jobs, but you could
Right.
you could find someone who could wear 4 of those hats.
right.
Or
Exactly.
5 of those hats, you know, and hire that person and figure out what they're really good at. And then they could, bring someone under them who could take 2 of their hats off. Right. And just
Right.
slowly work towards that, where you have these individual roles, and your ideal org chart is seen, all
You
the
can
vision
fill it.
comes true.
Yeah.
Fill
And
it up.
hopefully with every person you get, it essentially allows you to make more revenue, right? To support that
Sure.
growth
That's the idea.
and take off more hats.
Yeah.
The more
That's
hats
the
you can
idea
take
anyways,
off. Yeah.
right? Yeah. That's the
Exactly.
risk that I was talking about. It's
Right.
like every time you bring someone on, you're kind of crossing your fingers. Like, I hope this is the right person at the right time. And then I got to capitalize on this newfound time that I have, right? To go out and get more revenue. Or you hire someone who can go out. You say, hire a salesperson or whatever. I've thought about that, about just hiring a salesperson, and just commission based. So walk me through, tell me about like your ideal clients right now. What's like the perfect client for you? And then like, what are the problems that they have that you guys are solving for them?
Sure. So as far as industry goes, it's service-based, B2B, B2C, and health and wellness are kind of our big areas. The issues that we deal best with is dependency. So owner dependency. So we're looking at like owner operators. They might have a small team. They're making good revenue, but they're working 80 hours a week.
How long have they been in business?
3 to 5 years.
Okay.
At least. That's usually when there's some they've kind of gotten past that first hump,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
Of viability.
Yeah. What do they say?
and-
Most businesses don't make it past the 5-year mark. Right?
Yeah. So if they can make it past that, then it's really time to look at what's the scalability of their business. Because if they've proven themselves already, they might have some people that are on their team, but they might not have clear roles and responsibilities, for instance, like the org chart we're talking about. But it's really that dependency factor. If when everything goes through the owner.
Yeah.
And whether it's finances or sales or operations or marketing or whatever, everything kind of, even if you have a team, everything goes through that owner, and it becomes this trap that the owner's in, right?
Yep.
And so we really work well with those owners to remove them from that trap. So that's kind of first and foremost what most owners will be feeling when they come to us.
Does it take us? Okay, so they're coming to you because they're feeling that pressure of like, I could never get out of this because everything comes through me. I need help.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just don't see a way out. You know, this is just a continuous.
Is there a certain revenue that they need to have that makes sense to work with you?
Yeah, we usually look at about $1 million at least. And then up to about 20 million is where our processes, our methodology is pretty applicable still.
Okay.
Once they get past that mark, then we're working with our partners to say, hey, we've gotten them to a point. They want to continue to grow. They're going to be better suited somewhere else. But so it's kind of that 1 to 20 million revenue mark is that we're looking for.
Nice. Okay, cool. And then walk me through the coaching process. If I came to you and said, hey, I'm one of your ideal clients, you know, like everything's going through me. I want to exit this thing in 5 years. I need to start making some changes. Where do you guys start with them? Yeah,
so it's a lot of discovery off the bat. So we have our own assessments that we'll walk people through that really measure risk of where the business is, how are they performing in their business, what do they see as priorities, how are they performing as a leader in the business as well. So we're going through looking at financial performance metrics as well. We're benchmarking against the industry, really pulling comps from a website called Deal Stats, where that's just kind of where business transactions have happened. And we can look at, you know, bottom 10% all the way through top 10%. What were those businesses performing at in that industry? So we have
what they sold for
and what they sold for and all that. So we can understand, you know, relatively or pretty detailed, I guess, what they should be performing at.
And what their business should be worth.
And what it should be worth. If we're performing, if we're doing all the things the right way, we have low risk in the business, you should be around here as a multiple, and that will get you X amount in a sale.
Okay.
So we're really understanding all that in our first phase, which is we call the immersion phase, and we're building out the roadmap for 1 year, and we're really getting detailed about building a Gantt chart, if you're familiar with that. Just kind of what does that timeline look like for a year, and then we're working with them in 90-day sprints is how we refer to them as, on a weekly basis, executing on that action plan that we created.
Okay. And then they need to work with you for at least a year?
Yeah.
Okay.
So change takes time.
Yeah.
Especially sustainable change. So
you're building new habits, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that takes time.
Don't stop biting your fingernails. It doesn't happen in a week, right? It takes a long time.
It takes a while to build those good habits, break the bad ones, and building a scalable company is very habitual.
Yeah.
Having the right things in place, building the right systems, takes a lot of fine tuning.
And you guys are meeting about once a week?
Well, about once a week. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In most cases, it's once a week. So it's high touch.
Yeah. Very high touch.
And there's a lot of reasons behind that, a lot of psychology behind that of how change happens easier in a high touch environment, where a lot of our competitors will be meeting once or twice a month and be charging maybe the same amount, if not more. And just saying, here's some things to do, go do it.
Yeah.
And then we're saying, we're working on a real high frequency level.
You're checking their homework.
Yeah, we're making sure
you're not just assigning the
happening.
homework, you're checking it too.
And we work with them too, right?
Sure.
Like we're in there doing things with them. So we kind of, I would say we blend coaching and consulting together, where we're doing some things, they're doing.
Are you interviewing like any employees or anything like that? You talk to employees?
Yeah. So we'll do, if that's a big concern of the owner, we'll go in and work with employees and get 360 feedback style on the owner, on their leadership styles and things like that. And we'll bring that back.
Get some dirt on them.
Yeah.
And I got you. I understand what you're saying.
If we're building out the roles and responsibilities too, and really building out playbooks, we work with the individual employees too.
Yeah. So how do you tailor that? I mean, it sounds like you have systems that you kind of walk people through, but then how are you tailoring that depending on what their business is?
A lot of it has to do with vision. What is the owner looking to achieve?
Okay. So you're reverse engineering their vision.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So it's what are they really? What is the ultimate goal?
Yeah.
And then what kind of business do they want to have? You know, my one chiropractor business is going to look way different than another, just depending on what they want their company to look
Sure.
like.
How old they are, when they want to exit,
Yeah.
what they want their evaluation to be, all of those variables, I'm sure.
Yeah, so it's very custom. It's very fit to the owner. Like there's absolutely no one size fits all. We're not saying, hey, you have to do step 1, step 2, step 3 in order to achieve whatever you're looking to achieve. Is we're working backwards. We're learning who they are, what they really want, reverse engineering that process and how to get them
Cool.
what they want.
What so when you're scaling a business, because I feel like that's kind of I'm entering sort of a growth phase, and so what are some challenges that like most businesses, when you meet with them and they want to start scaling, what are the challenges that they are facing that you're helping them with?
Yeah, it's delegation is a big one.
Yeah.
Letting go of things. I think we were talking about that before we started here, of really trying to say how can I take a step back and being comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I run into this myself all the time of trying to say, hey, can you do this? And then I'm looking like, how are you doing that? And that's a very common thing for a lot of owners to be doing. So our role is to help them get comfortable with
They have to
taking
like
those hats.
Remove the emotions from it, like not be so emotional about it, and just recognize that it's a task, and that what do they say? And I don't know if you believe this, maybe you can speak to this, but it's like, if someone else can do it 80% as good as you should just let them do it.
Oh yeah, I 100% believe that.
You think that's true? Yeah,
I do.
And then given enough reps, they'll be at 100%, 110% of how you could do it. Yeah.
And no one's going to be as good as the owner, or at least as good as the owner
initially
thinks they
yeah.
are, right? But and you're right, initially, and someone can get there. The owner needs to understand, and this is an issue with a lot of people we work with, is they're good at hiring someone and they've been on the company for a couple months.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for a decade.
Right.
They just innately understand so much more.
Yeah.
And then are expecting someone who's just kind of coming on to perform at the same level. And that's just, we're tempering expectations too when we're bringing people on. And so there's a lot of that.
One thing I'm personally working on in this space is I have a certain way of communicating with clients and with people and leads and things like that. And it's like my communication skills I feel like are really good. And so I want my employees to talk like me, and communicate like me. And I have to like back off from that. Like they have their own way of communicating. As long as they're communicating the same things in a similar tone, that's fine.
Right.
And I don't need to inject my words into everything. I can train them on how I like to do it, but ultimately they have their own voice, and that's okay. And it's going to be a little bit different than how I would do it. They say things differently than I would.
Yeah.
And it's because I have, 12 years of experience doing this. And that's one of my skill sets, is like talking to people. And so there's a lot of things I have to let go and not be so picky about, and just like, okay, if it's 80% as good as I would do it, that's good enough. I'll let them do it and move along. I'll go to the next thing. There's plenty of things that I can do.
Plenty of things. And that's we're kind of talking about before with the hats and everything. It's like, once you kind of set someone up, say it's sales, right? You kind of teach them frameworks and how you talk about things, value propositions, pricing, all that. You can kind of manage them in a way, but it allows you to focus growth elsewhere, which is where you're going to get the scale component.
And do you find that most of these owners, like we all have as entrepreneurs and owner operators, we sort of all have our strengths and weaknesses. Do you find most entrepreneurs, most people you're working with, business owners, are like self-aware of their strengths and weaknesses? Like they know what they should be hiring out, they know what they should be giving away, but they just don't? Or are some of them just like clueless about what they're good at and not?
Some of them are kind of clueless. They just do it. But it's a question we ask, right? Like, what
I'm sure that's in the discovery phase.
It is. So what do you like to do? That's kind of how I ask it.
Well, that's immediately you'll get to what they're good at, because you like to do the things you're good at.
Right. And you don't. Things you don't, right?
You put them off. You don't do them.
You don't do them, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's part of the initial conversations that we have, of the onboarding conversations. What do you want to continue to do? Because this is something you're going to continue to do for a period of time, and we want you to be happy doing whatever you want to do. We refer to it as zone of genius.
So then it's like, when you're ready to exit, hey, you were 2 years away from exit. Now I can hire my replacement. I've gotten myself down to just doing the things I really like doing, the aspect of the business I really enjoy doing. And then when I'm ready to exit, you replace yourself, and then you can exit. That's sort of the idea.
Yeah. So we're trying to get them over the course of time into more of the strategic role visionary for the company, and then not necessarily the operations and execution.
Gotcha.
So over time, that's ultimately where we want them to be. I always call it be your own board of directors.
Yeah.
Be in
I think
that.
that's sort of my long-term vision for my business
Mhm.
is to be the board of directors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that I mean, that's an asset for you, right?
Yeah.
And then that you can go do the work if you want to.
Mhm.
You don't have to because the business isn't reliant on you, but you could if you want.
Yeah.
You can help provide some of the strategic direction for others to execute on. And that is what we refer to as an asset that is a sellable business, that is a highly sellable business.
Yeah.
That a lot of people will.
How
want to
often
buy.
are business owners staying on for a while as part of the acquisition?
Yeah, it's pretty common.
Yeah.
And the biggest reason for that is the business is not set up to run without the owner.
Okay.
And
So is your goal to say, hey, we want to sell this business and then you're out. You don't have to do this 2-year transition period.
right. That's our goal for our owners.
Okay.
Is there's no what's called an earnout with business owners. It's structured in a whole lot of different ways, but it can be structured that you have to hit certain KPIs. We're going to give you $1 million for your business, but $500,000 is tied up in you achieving XYZ over a period of a year or 2.
Okay.
If you don't achieve that, you don't get the $500,000.
Oh, wow.
So that's a stereotypical earnout for the business. So we want to avoid those things as much as possible. And the business owner sometimes could want to stay on as a consultant. That's an option. So that's kind of worked out into the deal. But for the most part, we want it to get to a point where it's a clean break. It's a sell. It's just a transfer of an asset. It's simply as simple as that.
I think I saw on your website you guys help people come up with like a life after sale plan kind of too.
Life after action plan. Yeah.
Life after action. What is that? Can you tell me about that and how you guys go about doing that?
Yeah, it's another one of those stats where a lot of people are not happy. They regret the sale of their company a year afterwards. That could it mostly has to do with they don't know what they're doing afterwards. So we help them, especially when we're in that 2 to 3 year time frame of really getting them excited for what life is going to be like after they sell, whether that's truly retirement, but we as entrepreneurs, I think retirement's sort of a dirty word.
Yeah, it's true.
Got to be working
that
on
sounds
something
incredibly boring.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we'll say, hey, look, let's think about buying a company and maybe growing it, or what is next? What actually gets you excited?
Yeah.
It could be a hobby. Woodworking could be something that they get excited. Okay, so we're going to use the money from the sale of your business to build you a woodworking shop.
I just want to play pickleball.
Right, there you go. You build a pickleball cart.
There we go.
Start a
I
league.
can do a pickleball business. See, that's my problem.
Yeah.
It's like I want to play pickleball. It's like, well, I don't want to just play pickleball. I want to start a pickleball company,
right?
In a facility so that I can play anytime I want, but then also make money. Yeah. So now I'm working. I'm not getting to do what I wanted to do. So.
Well, you're doing something
but
different.
Entrepreneurship to me is like I don't feel like it's work.
Right.
Almost ever.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
It's fun. You're growing something, right?
Yeah.
It's
building something.
Yeah.
I'm not building something out of wood or, I'm building a business.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's my hobby. So
building businesses. So yeah, it's about getting them excited, and there's a lot of inner workings that go along with it. But essentially, what it comes down to is getting them excited.
I like that. I like
life.
Getting them excited about that next phase.
Yeah.
What are we going to do after?
So
Let's come up with a plan.
And you just lit up talking about pickleball, so I would hang on to that. And be like, well, we're going to build this so you can do your pickleball facility.
Yeah. All right.
And you're like, all right, down. Let's
just want to play pickleball on the beach somewhere.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
So if we can figure that out,
we can make that happen. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it, Steven. Well, speaking of like success stories, I would love for you to share maybe a recent success story that people could relate to.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know if you could talk about them.
Yeah, I can do it on a high level.
Okay.
So this one client I actually met with today, they were referred to us from a broker.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of a common scenario of a business owner going to a broker and saying, "I've had it.
I want to sell.
I want to sell. This too much."
The broker goes, "You're not ready."
Exactly. And the broker came back with a number and saying, "Hey, we can value your $2 million company at $400,000, $500,000, somewhere in that range, and we think we could sell it for that."
Yeah.
And the owners are like, "I can't do anything with that."
Yeah.
That's not enough.
Yeah.
We've been building this for the last 20 something years.
Surely it's worth more than that.
Surely it's worth more.
Because you are the value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was just these
It's
two
all
owners,
in your brain. Yeah.
right? And so they were referred to us. I've been working with them for, I think we're going on our 3rd year now, and have gotten the owners really removed maybe 50% from what they were doing before. So it's a process, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
especially depending on how much.
That's why you got to
you're
start
in it.
early.
Exactly. And if you're
Start early, kids.
start early. And they actually just came back with a testimonial not too long ago of it's fun to run the business. Like, we're not looking to sell it necessarily.
They totally
anymore.
flipped it.
Yeah,
They
they're
totally-
like, hey, this is actually fun to grow this and work on it and build it. And now they have bigger aspirations. Like, they only wanted to sell it for, I forget what their original number was. It was not a lot, more than $500,000, but now they're looking at like 5+ million.
Okay.
So they have their eyes.
Well,
set
so you
way
guys have
further
kind
down
of
the road.
reignited their passion for
Yeah.
entrepreneurship because you've probably helped them remove the things that were draining them off their plate. Hey, what is sucking the life out of you? Let's get that off your plate.
All the frustrations. Let's put someone in place that can actually do that for you. And now, in working on the business, that's what a lot of entrepreneurs enjoy anyway. I think is really kind of building that structure and making things work and problem solving.
Probably like me, like I enjoy making videos. Like I love that, but like I like business stuff, more. Video is just what I was good enough to like convince people to pay me to do.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like you got to find something to like that you're good enough that people are willing to pay you to do it, and then you can go that direction.
Yeah.
So I literally picked up a camera, was just like, I'll figure this out.
I'll do this.
Yeah, I can probably do this. Well, I was running a nonprofit in Texas, moved to Fort Collins, and like I knew so many people, had a huge network in Texas, where if I ever left that nonprofit, I felt like I could go and do whatever I wanted almost. You know what I mean? Anybody would have given me a chance because I knew so many people in that community. And, and everybody liked me. And I was, I have tangible business skills, obviously. But how do you put that on like a resume? You know what I mean? When you move to a new town and nobody knows you. Yeah. And I was just like frustrated that I couldn't find a decent job, you know? And I joked with my wife that I was like, I'm either going to like do something to make a bunch of money or flip burgers. I don't really care. And I just got there and no one would hire me. And I was just like, oh crap, I'm going to have to figure this out on my own, which is fun because I was running a nonprofit, which is very entrepreneurial anyways. So I just got my wife had bought me a camera the year before and I was like, I could figure this out, and I just went for it and made it work. And so fast forward, I found a job that paid well enough to pay the bills. And the great thing about the job was it was really flexible. I was working at like this like Apple store and I was a service manager fixing computers. Nice. Well, I had my laptop up, my personal laptop up, and I was like replying to emails and sending invoices. I was double dipping all the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it was a MacBook, so it just blended in with all the other MacBooks on the counter, right?
I had no idea.
And I was just like, I was working a ton and getting a lot of work. I was really efficient at fixing computers, and then that gave me free time to build up my business on the side. So that's cool. What so that success story that you were just sharing, what industry are they? Service based?
Service, B2B.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're in the marketing space and the B2B side.
All right, so let's back to today because I'm going to be selfish here for a minute.
Do it.
Let's. I'm going to pick your brain a little bit. Knowing what you know about my business, and I can answer any questions that you might have. Like, what advice are you giving someone like me? I'm turning 40 in 2 days. Let's say
happy almost birthday.
Thank you. That's going to date this video, but it doesn't matter. I don't know my birthday. Yeah. So what advice do you give? Let's say I want to exit in 5 years, 5 to 10 years. Let's say 5 years, because I kind of do in some ways and go start my next business, And so even if I didn't want to sell in 5 years, I just wanted to be able to exit. I guess it's a similar process, I imagine.
It's similar. And we'll have, like, when we're within that, especially within the 3-year time frame, but it starts becoming relevant conversation at 5 is, what do you need to sell for? Yeah. So we have a very team mentality. We have financial advisors. So if you have a financial advisor, we'll speak with them. Like, what's the wealth?
Do people ever sell a part of the business?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's actually becoming more and more common, and it's actually being funded by banks now.
Okay.
Partial buyouts, partner buyouts, those types of things. Okay. So it's It's actually kind of cool. We just had one of our banking partners, Live Oak, come and speak to my team last week. So this is kind of fresh in my head, but they're able to fund partner buyouts up to 100%, which is pretty cool. And then partial buyouts. And partial buyouts are a really cool program that allow like specialty trades. So consider anything that needs a license.
Okay.
CPAs, master electricians, attorneys, even someone without that license can come in and buy 90%.
Okay.
From the CPA who wants to retire, but they still need to be an owner so that their license is a part of it. But the new owner can come in and do all the operations and figure out how eventually to get that previous owner
give them
out.
time to get their license or whatever, figure that out.
Yeah.
Hire someone who already has their license, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it may be. And there's a bunch of different teams that can help specifically advise on that type of thing.
Okay. But like in my situation, I wanted to sell 50% of my business. I needed that capital to go start my next adventure or something like that. Is that an option, a possibility?
It can be.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of groups out there, a lot of investor groups that are looking for, small companies to invest in and help grow from a capital standpoint.
Okay.
We always say if you're going to bring on a partner, they should be working in the business, especially if you're trying to bootstrap it.
I've had a business partner before.
Yeah, we usually advise against it if we can, because it just kind of muddies the decision making and pathways and future vision, and so there's a lot of it's a whole different game.
In our head, it was like a perfect partnership because our skill sets were different.
Yeah,
but in practice and practicality, it just didn't work. We had different visions. He wanted to do this and I wanted to do that, and it just was like we were doing this, and it was like, well, what are we gonna do? It's like, well, let's just split and go back to how we were. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But
and bringing on like investor groups, for instance, is kind of what I'm referring to, that you can sell some equity to.
Okay.
It looks really attractive, and I've been a part of companies that do this. They have control of the business and how the money is being spent, and so your culture fit has to be a part of it with your investor group, and it can be a really good thing to help scale a company. Because they're essentially injecting cash into the business. Which
if you have a good growth strategy plan, then I imagine that's a good way to do it.
It is a good way to do it, and it can be really good. But I've seen it burn the other way too, where they just butt heads with the investor groups. And it just
there's a reason I'm not in corporate America.
Right.
It's because I don't play well in those situations.
Right.
All right, back to giving me advice. So the org chart, great idea. What next?
What do you do next to grow?
Well, to start thinking about
what the exit looks like.
The exit looks like.
So you take your pickleball example for what we would look at is, if you're in your 5-year plan to exit, what is the capital that is needed to start your facility, start your business, start a league, create a professional, whatever it is.
Sure.
We'll kind of get an idea of what capital investment that needs to be. What do you need? What do you want to put away? So we have an actual hard number of what we need to sell for. And then we'll essentially reverse engineer how do we get there, using all of the industry comps that we've looked at, all the different assessments that we look at in terms of risk. And then, like I said, the biggest risks in a business is the owner, everything going through them. Also key employees. Customer concentration is another really, really big one too. So if you're getting 60% of your revenue from one customer, that's a pretty big risk. So there's a ton of different factors that go into it. So we're looking at 50, 60, 70 different factors, checklists, and saying where can we plug holes to increase the value, and then we're going to scale it to whatever number you need to sell it for. So we'll get a good ballpark for that. We work with M&A people so we can get a real opinion. Mergers and acquisitions. So, investment bankers, the people who are going to be selling the business. It's the ones that have
I know what that is,
their finger on the pulse of what businesses are transacting for. So we'll get their point of view as well, what's going on in the market. And we just execute on taking you out of the business, building the asset, getting it to that number.
You're kind of really removing the emotions out of this thing, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Stripping it down to numbers and formulas and.
There's a question we'll ask too of how do you identify yourself? Do you identify yourself as a business owner or someone who owns a business.
Okay.
Do you see a nuance in there?
Let me think about it.
Yeah.
A business owner or someone who owns a business? Yeah, I would say, ooh, yeah, I can see what you're talking about. Yeah, I would want to be someone who owns a business, right? I guess.
The person who answers, "I'm
Business.
someone who owns a business," versus "I am a business owner," their identity is tied up into those sentences, right?
Yeah.
So if you're an individual that owns a business, it allows you to look at that as something to work on.
Yeah.
If you're someone who just identifies as a business owner, there's a lot of emotion that's tied up into that. So it's a question that we ask so we know what we're working with in that way. From, is this person's identity someone a business owner, or is this person aware that it's just something that they're doing?
Yeah.
So that makes a pretty big distinction on how we're going to work with them too.
Okay. Is there one that you prefer working with, or is it, does it not matter? You just different approaches?
It's different approaches.
Okay.
I think that if I had to choose, is the one that sees it as an asset, because they can say, they see
because they can remove themselves from the situation and look at it pragmatically.
And they see the work that we're doing without us having to get them there.
Yeah.
So we can get moving a little bit faster, but either we can work with both.
We can work with both. I imagine it's the other ones that you run into a lot more.
And those are the ones that have a lot of trouble actually letting go and selling the business and seeing, why would I not do this? I'm going to do this forever.
Yeah. You're like, well, you're physically not going to be able to do this forever. So you have a problem there.
Yeah. So there's a part of that. But
well, cool. Let's talk about your business a little bit more, and then we can wrap up. What's kind of been the biggest challenge this year? Has there been any challenges you guys had?
Yeah, I mean, this year's 2024, it's been kind of a down economy year. So there's been a lot of, shall I call it, pivoting.
Sure.
And really understanding how to talk, especially in the B2B realm. How are we getting businesses to come in? And for ourselves too, but also for our clients are going through this, is how can we propose a different type of value proposition where business owners are going to say, yeah, it's worth spending money on, even in a down economy.
Yeah.
So we're working with a lot of our clients on how can we not only just tailor the messaging, but the actual offering and what value they're delivering. So it will fundamentally change some components of businesses for the better.
Right.
And really being agile and adaptable to the environment. But it's really taking those external factors that we can't necessarily plan for.
Right. Like the economy.
Yeah, the economy, what's going on, people's spending habits, those sorts of things. When those just throw a wrench into your whole plan, when growth is there, but it's not there as much as you would like it to be, especially to do the things that you wanted to do in the year. So that's a tough, like an emotional roller coaster that we're working with too. So there's just a lot of like internal changes that we're working with, which can be pretty taxing.
Yeah.
So just navigating those components of the business.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being honest about that.
Yeah.
So then what's on the horizon for you guys? Like what's your goal for the next year, for the next 5 years? Where do you see the business?
Yeah. So we're working with about 60 companies right now.
Okay.
In mostly in Colorado, but some other states too. We're going to be bringing on 2-3 new advisors that we're working with. So we are growing. And then
what industries are they? Do you know?
Are they
specialized in?
The one that we're talking to the most right now is agriculture.
Okay.
So which I think would be, I have zero experience in agriculture.
Yeah,
so
that's a different beast with land and a bunch of assets.
Oh yeah. So I think that would be
very different
cool
than a
to
gym
to do.
A gym or a plumber, right?
Exactly. So for me, that's really exciting to be able to bring that specialty under our roof. So
that's a weird thing, because I feel like in past generations it was just like, well, my son's going to inherit the farm,
right?
Obviously, but now the farms are industrialized and probably corporate owned, or a lot of them are bigger businesses, and so. Yeah, how do you pass that down? How do you sell that?
Yeah.
How do you get rid of it?
Yeah.
How do you value that?
That's crazy. We're gonna figure that out. So.
Yeah. Cool.
But that's fun. But our overall mission is to reduce those stats that we shared in the very beginning. So we're really wanting to spread the word as much as we can. So appearing wherever we can, doing presentations wherever we can. Okay. That's our big mission for next year.
Coming on podcasts as much as you can.
Exactly. Yeah. And really helping business owners understand what is a valuable company? What
Yeah.
are people looking for? Whether or not they're going to hire us or anyone like us or just try to go at it themselves, just understand what it is.
Yeah.
That's our big mission, and we're bringing on people onto the team to help do that. We want to get to 100 businesses next year that we're helping to really build their assets and build their wealth. So that's our big mission right now.
Cool. That's a great goal, man. Awesome. Well, let's wrap up. And why don't you tell people where they can find you if someone's interested in you and
Sure.
working with you?
The best way to really find us is the website. So denverbusinesscoach.com.
Okay.
We spent a lot of time and effort into building that into being something really cool.
It's a nice looking website.
Thank you.
Should they book a call with you? Is that thing, or fill out the contact form?
Yeah, filling out the contact form is going to be the easiest way. That goes straight to me. My email is also steven@denverbusinesscoach.com, so people can reach out to me directly as well. But
Perfect.
Always open for a conversation.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
That was
thank
really
you.
fun
This
to
has
hear.
been fun.
Yeah, cool. I might be a future customer for sure.
All right, we'll talk.
All right, sounds good, man.